Thursday, September 1st edition of the Carolina Weather Video. I'm meteorologist Matthew East here with you, and now we are at the beginning of meteorological fall, and I know a lot of folks are ready for fall weather. Looks like a big push of cooler air is on the way as we get into next week. I'll talk about that, plus a whole lot to discuss with you in the tropics, and we're going to spend a lot of time on that as we get through this current edition of the video. Let's take a look at the radar imagery this morning. Very quiet across our region. There's some showers and storms in parts of Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York State with the disturbance that'll stay well off to our north. For our area, looking good. We have temperatures in the 60s in many spots this morning in the Piedmont, and it'll be another day with upper side of the 80s to around 90 for highs and low levels of humidity. There's our upper air chart for today. Just kind of a broad ridge across much of the central and eastern part of the country until you see that little disturbance up in New York and Pennsylvania. And as we go forward in time, here's the European solution for Sunday early afternoon. You're looking at a possible tropical system close to the Louisiana coast. At the same time, here comes a big trough swinging into the eastern part of the country, and exactly how this trough interacts with the various tropical features still remains a mystery. And again, here's the European solution all the way out at Wednesday of next week. The initial trough has missed both the possible Gulf system and largely has missed Katia. And it's just going to be, I tell you, this is going to be a forecasting challenge to say the least for both of these systems in coming days. Let's get into the modeling here, and we'll start with the GFS. And we're going to be looking at a day today that is dry, highs in the upper 80s to around 90 and low humidity. Now, I do need to mention tomorrow and Saturday there could be an isolated shower or storm in parts of the region, but I think once you're outside of the mountains, most spots tomorrow and Saturday will be dry, and we'll crank up the heat a bit. Some highs returning both of those days to the lower 90s. Again, notice that on the GFS there's that low pressure that could become Tropical Storm Lee near the Louisiana coast. I'll talk more about that in just a second. As we get into the day here on Sunday, it still looks like a lot of us will see a dry day. It could be a little better chance of a few storms by Sunday afternoon as this cold front approaches, but probably be Monday that's the better chance for some scatter showers and storms. And again, it almost all entirely depends on how much of this tropical moisture gets lifted up our way. The GFS would indicate dry weather for us Tuesday and Wednesday with all the tropical moisture shunted to our south, but the scenario is a little different here on the European. Here's Sunday on the European. Here's Monday on the European with the cold front interacting with a little bit of tropical moisture, and then eventually by Friday of next week it pulls that whole system up in our general direction. And so let's kind of shift gears and talk about the tropics. We have Katia, which is now a hurricane out there in the Atlantic Ocean, and watching this area in the Gulf of Mexico. And I'll say this morning it doesn't look terribly organized, but something that we need to watch for sure. I'll talk about the Gulf in just a moment. Let's talk Katia first. There's a satellite image. It too is struggling a bit this morning. It doesn't look great on the satellite imagery. So there may be some short-term weakening, but the overall prospects of strengthening still look quite good over the next several days. Now there's the track guidance, at least some of the track guidance. And again, you have to be very careful with this because you look at that at the face value and say, it's recurving, maybe heading to the Canadian Maritimes. But these models on the southern end of this really have my attention. And I'll show you why here. First of all, the intensity models here all forecast at least some degree of strengthening in coming days. And I still think this has a decent chance of becoming a major hurricane. Now, there's the Hurricane Center forecast, a bend to the west-northwest. And notice the last couple of forecast points here, a little bit of a bend back toward the west. And the reason is I think it misses that trough that I've been showing you early next week. It looks like that at least the first trough is going to miss Katia. And I tell you, a couple of the charts here, this is the no gaps. That's a scary look, frankly. Looking at just an intense hurricane nearing the eastern Bahamas at 144 hours. And as this ridge drops to the southeast, I think the no gaps would indicate some type of east coast threat. The Canadian model takes this eventually to near Cape Cod by Friday evening of next week. The GFS is further north, up around the Canadian Maritimes. And so while I still think the odds favor this probably staying east of the U.S. East coastline, it is just way too soon to declare that, and it's still definitely has my attention. It is still something we need to watch very closely. Now, in the Gulf of Mexico, again, this is not terribly organized looking this morning. There's a lot of convection down that way, but no real signs of tropical organization as of yet. And you want to see a spaghetti chart that shows a lot of confusion amongst the models? There it is. Look at that. All over the place. And I think that the general idea to take from this is whatever can develop will move to the north, somewhere close to the Louisiana or upper Texas coastline, and just kind of meander down in this general region for several days. And there is going to be a lot of rain that falls probably in this corridor as we go through the next 4 or 5 days. Could be some big flooding problems in parts of that region. And let me show you a couple of model solutions here. This is the Canadian for Sunday evening. It takes us to near the Texas coast, and eventually some of that moisture does get pulled up in our direction, making for kind of a rainy Labor Day. Some of the other model solutions, this is going to be the GFDL. It takes it to the far southwest Louisiana coast as a weak hurricane out at 66 hours, and then the Hurricane Wharf is close to the mouth of the Mississippi River, has a very weak system out at 60 hours. And finally, here is the GFS, takes it to the Louisiana coast, is a stronger system. And again, the general idea here is this is probably going to meander around, and how much of that moisture gets pulled up in our direction remains a huge question mark. That is just an unanswerable question right now. So there's a whole lot to talk about, a lot to watch here. If you like the tropics, you're going to like watching the weather here for the next several days. And we'll continue to keep you up to date here on News 14 Carolina and your tropical updates at 21 and 51 minutes past the hour. And, of course, I'll continue to keep the blog products updated here for you in coming days. All right, that is it for today. Thank you for watching. Have a great day here on this first day of September. Go Bulldogs. State opens the season tonight in Memphis, and God bless.